The GEEK Files, 2026, April 29th. Transprovincial and Terrace, fall of 88, spring of 92. So as the pressure on Transprovincial to be more efficient increased, one of the things they do is start dropping pilots' wages. So the rollover of pilots became a thing, which is silly because it takes a long time to train a pilot. You got to hire them, then you got to train them on type, then you have to schedule a type certification, and then they have to pass that. So even if they've got a lot of time on other heavies like DC-3s, DC-4s, C-46s, you still have to come in and learn to fly the Bristol and pass its type. And, you know, with the decreasing wages and less certainty in flight hours, it became harder and harder to find good pilots. Which isn't to say that pilots didn't want to fly the Bristol freighter. Pilots are these weird things. You could give them a beautiful Learjet to fly and just do corporate stuff and fly here and that, Miami to Houston to LA. And they look at this greasy, sliming, dripping, beat up Bristol freighter, and it's a Pavlovian response. They just start to drool and want to fly this thing. The number of new Alaska Airlines pilots that when the 737 landed and they got out, they wandered over to have a look at the freighter and went, "Oh man, I'd like to fly this. Oh yeah, I'd like to." Like, you'd break your back. I mean, your cargo just walks on and walks off. You just walk up, do some pre-flights and go. Anyway, so out of the blue, Transprovincial hires a woman, which at that time, a woman pilot was unusual, especially in the heavies, because you're doing manual labor. Like, you're moving your own, you get help, but you're moving your own cargo and loading your own fuel. And it's a thing. But this one, I don't remember where I knew. We had friends in common. I think she came off with DC-4 someplace. Carmen Marushka. And just hilarious. Like 5'2", 100 and something pounds, soaking wet in army boots, filling her pockets full of rocks. And, when you wind up in this sort of macho man pilot world at that time, you either were trying to be one of the boys or you just fended off with humor. And Carmen had a vicious sense of humor. It was wild. So we were staying in the mine at that time. That was the big thing. So, and one of the things you had to do staying in the mine is when you came in for your time, you had to sign in. So now now is Carmen going to have to put up with a bunch of pilots. And I had to put up with a bunch of miners who haven't seen a woman for a while. So we get to the snip mine, get to the camp, and I'm going like, this is going to be interesting. So Carmen walks in and walks up to the front desk, and the guy just looks at her like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And so he says, "Okay, so what's your name?" He says, "Carmen." She says, "Carmen Marushka." And he just looks at her and says, "Marushka." He says, spell it exactly like Smith with an E on the end of it. And I lost it. I mean, like, priceless, right? Marushka, you spell it like Smith, but you put an E on the end of it. Yeah. Broke the spell. She was the darling of the camp. Yeah, Carmen could do no wrong. I left shortly after that, so I never knew how long she stayed around. But I don't think it was long. No one at that point, none of the, except for some of the old pilots that were the pilots have been there for a long time. And we'll get to the reason they were there, like the chief pilot and operations officer, why they stuck out so long. But yeah, we're getting a pretty big rollover in personnel and the pilots. Anyway, Carmen Maruska, spelled like Smith with an E on the end of it. Making appropriate life decisions. You don't make any money, but you get good stories.